What's a story, amigos? This is Kino with some cool stories for today's story time.
In our first book, read by Ping Wu, a man and his wife are unhappy because they live too close to the big mountain.
Help me to move this mountain so I may enjoy my house in peace, cried Ming Lo.
Glenn Turman will read us a story of a boy who meets a ghost face to face.
Now, roared the figure, hands on hips. What do you say?
And two snake brothers are having problems in this story read by Steve Gutenberg.
Gulp.
And now, the time is right. The books are hot. We'll hear fine stories and enjoy them a lot.
Storytime is a production of KCET and is made possible by a gift from Helen and Peter Bing, so that families everywhere can share the joy of reading with their children. And now, join Kino and his friend Mara at her place for story time.
Man, if we don't get to the story soon, I'll have to do something.
Is that right? Well, what did you have in mind?
Well, I'll paint a red monkey and giggle and fly my silly dog to the moon. When they meet at the beach and wiggle, they'll eat blue sand with a spoon.
Well, today we've got some good stories, so you don't have to fly your dog to the moon.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take my dog for a little fly later.
This is my friend Ping Wu, and he is going to be reading a story from China.
But why did he walk in that way?
Hi, everybody. Hi. I was doing the dance of the moving mountain. That's the dance that they do in this story. And it's called Ming Lo Moves the Mountain. And it's kind of silly. You'll see why. Here we go. Ming Lo and his wife lived in a house at the bottom of a large mountain. They loved their house, but they did not love the mountain. Rocks and stones broke loose from the cliffs. They dropped down onto the house of Ming Lo. The roof was full of holes, and clouds formed on top of the mountain. Heavy rain fell from the clouds onto this roof that was full of holes. The rooms inside were damp and drippy. When the sun did shine, it never warmed the house of Ming Lo. The mountain always cast a dark shadow. The flowers and vegetables in the garden grew thin and sparse. This mountain brings us nothing but unhappiness, said the wife of Ming Lo. Husband, you must move the mountain so that we may enjoy our house in peace. My dear wife, said Ming Lo, how can such a small man as myself move a large mountain such as this? How should I know, said his wife. There is a wise man who lives in the village. Go and ask him. Ming Lo hurried to the village. When he found the wise man, he said, I want to move the mountain that is near my house. The wise man thought for a long time. Wisps of smoke curled from his pipe. Finally, he said, Go home, Ming Lo. Cut down the tallest, thickest tree you can find. Push this tree against the side of the mountain with all your strength. This is the way you will move the mountain. Ming Lo ran home. He cut down the tallest, thickest tree he could find. Ming Lo and his wife held tightly to the tree. Running as fast as they could, they pushed the tree against the mountain. The tree split in half. Ming Lo and his wife fell on their heads. The mountain did not move an inch. Go back to the wise man, said the wife of Ming Lo. Ask him to think of another way to move the mountain. Again, the wise man thought for a long time. Rings of smoke blew from his pipe. Finally, he said, Go home, Ming Lo. Take the pots and pans from your kitchen. Hold a spoon in each one of your hands. With these spoons, hit the pots and pans as hard as you can. Raise your voice in loud shouts and cries. The mountain will be frightened by the noise. This is the way you will move the mountain. Ming Lo ran home. He took the pots and pans from his kitchen. Ming Lo and his wife held a spoon in each one of their 4 hands. They shouted and cried. They hit the pots and pans as hard as they could. They made a great noise. Flocks of birds flew out of the trees. But the mountain did not move at all. Go back to the wise man, cried the wife of Ming Lo. We must find a way to move the mountain. Ming Lo watched as the wise man thought for a very long time. Clouds of smoke billowed from his pipe. Finally, he said, Go home, Ming Lo. Bake many cakes and loaves of bread. Bring these to the spirit who lives at the top of the mountain. The spirit is always hungry. He will be happy to receive these gifts. He will grant you every wish. This is the way you will move the mountain. Ming Lo ran home. With his wife, he baked platters of cakes and baskets of bread. Together, they began the steep climb up to the top of the mountain where the spirit lived. They felt a strong wind as they struggled up the high cliffs. It whistled and howled. Soon the air was filled with flying cakes and loaves of bread. There was nothing left for the spirit, and the mountain did not move. Without waiting for his wife to say a word, Ming Lo went quickly back to the wise man. Help me to move this mountain so I may enjoy my house in peace, cried Ming Lo. The wise man sat deep in thought for a long, long time. There was so much smoke coming from his pipe that he could hardly be seen. Finally, he said, Go home, Ming Lo. Take your house apart, stick by stick. Gather all these sticks that are the pieces of your house. Collect all the things that are your possessions. Bind everything together into bundles with rope and twine. Carry these bundles in your arms and on top of your head. Face the mountain and close your eyes. Having done all this, said the wise man, you will step to the dance of the moving mountain. You will put your left foot in a place that is in back of your right foot. Then you will put your right foot in a place that is in back of your left foot. You must do this again and again for many hours. When you open your eyes, you will see that the mountain has moved far away. This is a strange dance, said Ming Lo. But if it makes the mountain move, I will do it. Ming Lo ran home. He took his house apart, stick by stick. He gathered all the sticks and collected all of the things that were his possessions. Ming Lo and his wife bound everything into bundles with rope and twine. They carried the bundles in their arms and on top of their heads. Then Ming Lo showed his wife the dance of the moving mountain. They faced the mountain and closed their eyes. Carefully, they began to move their feet to the steps of the dance. They each put their left foot in a place that was behind their right foot. Then they each put their right foot in a place that was behind their left foot. The neighbors saw Ming Lo and his wife walking backwards across the fields with all their possessions. It was a sight, and they watched in wonder. After many hours had passed, Ming Lo and his wife opened their eyes. Look, cried Ming Lo. Our dance has done its work. The mountain has moved far away. Stick by stick, they rebuilt their house. They unpacked all of their possessions and made themselves at home. Ming Lo and his wife lived the rest of their lives under an open sky and a warm sun. When rain fell, it came down gently on a roof that had no holes. They often looked at the mountain that was small in the distance, and there was happiness in their hearts, for they both knew that they had made the mountain move. The end. Did Ming Lo and his wife really move the mountain far away?
No.
No? What happened?
They just like closed their eyes and walked out. moved away close.
You know, Ping-Woo, I think moving your house in bundles would only work if you don't have too much stuff. Not like in our house. Huh, sheesh.
Well, hi, everyone. Hi. I've come to read a story about a boy and a ghost. Is anyone interested?
Oh, Glenn.
Huh?
Is this Delina?
Yes.
Hi, Delina.
Say hi.
Hi, Delina.
Well, this is a very good story. And, it's a story about a boy and a ghost, like I said. And it was written by Robert D. Sanssouci. And it was illustrated by J. Bryan Pinkney. It goes like this. Down south, there was once a boy named Thomas, whose family was very poor. His parents worked hard from sunup to sundown on their little backcountry farm, but could barely put enough food on the table to feed their 7 children. Thomas had 2 brothers and a sister older than he was, and 2 sisters and a brother who were younger, so he was right smack in the middle. Now, because he hated to see his parents working so hard and his brothers and sisters going hungry all the time, the boy made up his mind to go to the city to earn some money so that he could bring it back to help his family. Since the older children had to help their parents chop cotton and the younger ones were too little to go off on their own, Thomas, in the middle, well, he decided that he ought to be the one to try this feat. He set out the very next morning. Now, his mother gave him a big hug and gave him a pot and a ham bone to make soup and said, now you always be polite to everyone you meet and be generous as well. Then his father embraced the boy and gave him a box of matches and a croquet sack to carry things in. And he said, always be brave and no matter what happens, always be honest. We'll miss you, cried his 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and they hugged him as well, one and all. And I'll miss you too, said Thomas, putting on a brave smile to hide how sad he felt at leaving. Well, as he walked along the road that led to the city, he picked up sticks for a fire, and he found some greens and other things that grew wild and put these in his croquet sack. When he stopped for lunch, he lit a fire. Then he filled his pot with fresh water from a stream and added the ham bone and the things that he had gathered. And soon he had soup boiling away nicely. When he was ready to eat, a poor man came by, even more raggedy than Thomas, and asked, can I have just a taste of that soup? Well, of course, said the little boy politely, inviting the raggedy man to dip his tin cup into the broth, and together they finished the soup, and tasty it was. When they were done, the man said, where are you heading, boy? I'm going to the city to earn money so as I can help my family, he answered. Well, you mightn't happen to go so far, said the man, if you're brave enough. I hear that there's a house on the hill not far from here. A rich man lived there years ago, but he died. Folks say the place is haunted. But the same folks say anyone who stays in it from sunset to sunrise will get the house and the treasure the old man hid before he died. Well, why don't you go out there yourself and find the treasure, said Thomas. Well, I'm scared, and that's the long and the short of it. Well, folks say everyone who's tried to last the night has run away or died of fright. Now no one will go near the place. Thomas thought of his poor family back home and said, well, I will. And he started gathering up his ham bone in the pot and putting things back into his croquet sack. Soon after, the boy and the man parted company, just before sunset. And Thomas spotted a lonely old house on the hill. Now, bravely, he walked up and pushed open the door with a screech. The door opened, and inside, most of the dusty rooms, cobweb hallways were empty. But in the kitchen, he found a big old iron stove opposite the fireplace. And there was a table with one chair and a candle and a spoon. Well, the boy lit the candle and then he put the last of his kindling in the stove, drew some water from the well out back, and put the ham bone in and the remaining greens to make soup for his supper. But while he was warming, a bright light suddenly filled the fireplace across the room. There was an awful moan, and then a sad, thin voice wailed down the chimney. Look out! Look out! My legs are falling! With a whoop! A pair of legs encased in elegant trousers and a fine pair of leather shoes and ending at a wide belt with a golden buckle dropped into the ashes into the coal fireplace. Immediately, they got up and began running around the kitchen, and they kicked the walls and the doors and the side of the big iron stove, so Thomas had to keep moving out of the way. Well, aren't you going to run away? Asked the ghostly voice. Well, no, I'm fine right here, said Thomas. Just so long as you don't kick over my soup. Thomas continued to stir his boiling pot. Well, just as he was ready to carry his soup to the table, the voice wailed down the chimney. Look out! My arms are falling. And with a whoop, man's two arms and a middle, clothed in a silken shirt and silver buttons, dropped into the fireplace. And immediately the legs went over and stood waiting while the other part climbed up and settled into place. Then the headless body fumbled around the kitchen, rattling the cupboards and pounding the walls. Well, now, aren't you going to run away? Called the strange voice down the chimney. But Thomas, who was sitting at the table, dipping up his broth with the spoon, answered, "Oh, no need to. Just see that you don't knock over my soup." Well, then, look out, warned the voice. Here comes the rest of me. Then, a scowling head with hair and beard red as flame and eyes like blazing coals dropped thump into the fireplace. Right away, the body of the man or ghost or whatever it was picked up the head from the hearth and brushed it off and placed it squarely on his shoulders. Now, roared the figure, hands on hips. What do you say? Well, do you want some soup? Said Thomas, who wouldn't let his courage or his manners fail him. There's still a little left in the pot, and you're welcome to share it. Well, then the ghostly figure said, I don't need any food, but you're the only one, man or boy, who has stayed long enough for me to put myself together. Now, follow me. And he raised his left hand immediately, and his fingers blazed like a torch, though the fire didn't seem to hurt him. Now fetch the shovel that's out by the well, and follow me if you dare. I will, said Thomas. The ghost led the boy to a lonely spot far from the house, and stopping under a huge sycamore tree, the ghost pointed with his right hand to the ground near its roots. Dig there, he commanded. Thomas dug and dug and dug until the shovel fell from his blistered hands. The ghost remained silent, one hand raised and glowing, and the finger on his other hand still pointing to the hole. And after a short rest, Thomas wearily began digging again. Soon, the point of his shovel struck something hard. He uncovered a large earthen pot caked with dirt. When he lifted the lid, he saw gold and silver coins shining in the first glow of sunrise. Give half the money to the poor so that my soul can rest easy, said the ghost. As his legs started to fade away, and keep half for yourself. His arms and his middle disappeared up to his neck. You're a good, brave lad, added the floating head with a wink. You set me free, and I thank you. You're, began Thomas, but the head was gone before he could say, welcome. And Thomas did as the voice told. He loaded the gold and the silver into his croaker sack, and on his way home, he gave half of the money to poor folk. And when he got back to the farm, his family was overjoyed to have him back safe and sound. Then the boy shared his wealth with the rest of his family, and they all moved into the house on the hill and lived happily ever after. And the ghost was never seen again. Well, not in those parts. The end. If someone had said to you there's a ghost in the house up there and all you gotta do is stay in it, what would you do? Would you stay in it?
Yeah.
No.
I'm not afraid.
You're not afraid.
Well, I would.
I would.
I would, because I don't believe in ghosts. You know, I think ghosts are pretty much like Kino's flying dog. No, it doesn't exist. It's not real.
Mara, please. My dog is very, very real.
Yes, but does it fly?
Well, it does if you close your eyes and stand on your head.
Well, if you close your eyes, anything is possible. All you have to do is use your imagination. Well, fortunately for you, we don't have to imagine our next story.
Oh, don't tell me. We're going on a picture book visit?
That's right. How did you know?
Well, I used my imagination, and I'm ready, so let's go! Hey, it's Steve reading to a bunch of kids. I wonder what story they've got.
How would you guys like to hear a book called Slither McCreep and His Brother Joe? Feel like hearing that today?
Yeah.
All right. It's written by Tony Johnston, and it's illustrated by Victoria Chess. So, I guess you're all hoping that I can read, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, you'll tell me at the end if I can read. Okay, it starts out, Slither McCreep and his brother Joe were snakes. They were of the species Strangulus gorgianus, that is, the squeezing kind. Slither and Joe lived with their mother, who was a gorgeous squeezer too. They were happy except when Slither and Joe fought. One day, Slither said, Mom, Joe put a sign on his door. It says, no slithers allowed. Even though it was spelled wrong, it made him furious. Ignore it, said Mother. Slither did not ignore it. He thought about it all the time. Later on, he said, Joe won't share his beach ball. I need it, said Joe. What for, asked Slither. To sit on, said Joe. See what I mean, Mom? Ignore it, said Mother. Slither did not ignore it. He thought about it all the time. Soon he complained to Mother again. Joe won't let me use his rat robots. I need them, said Joe. What for, asked Slither. To do my homework. Who does homework with rat robots roaring all over his desk, wailed Slither. I do, said Joe. Later still, Slither shouted, Joe won't let me wear his purple sweater. I'm wearing it. Slither gave him a glassy stare. On your head, he said. I'm playing Sultan, the Sultan of Stingies, said Slither. If you feel so crabby, said Mother, go squeeze something. You'll feel much better. So Joe went to watch TV, and he took some things he didn't want Slither to use. He wrapped himself around them tight. He watched his favorite rock group, Balboa and the Vindo Vipers. They wore purple capes and rose-colored sunglasses. They hissed for heaven snakes in Cold Blood and Scales Part 2. Joe loved it. Wow, he said, they're really neat. Wow. Meanwhile, Mother had given Slither an idea. You bet I'll squeeze something, he said to himself, sneaking into Joe's room. He squeezed Joe's beach ball. Pop! He squeezed Joe's eggshell collection. Crack! Then he squeezed Joe's rat robots. He squeezed them into a big wad. Crunch! Mother was right. He felt better. For good measure, he swallowed Joe's fun shape set. Gulp! Slither looked in the mirror. Up. And he adored being so many shapes at once. When the Balboa show was over, Joe went to his room. It was full of strange blobs. Slither was coiled on the floor, smiling. Hey, cried Joe, where's my beach ball? I squeezed it, said Slither. Where's my eggshell collection? Squeezed. My rat robot, squeezed. And my fun shape set? Joe almost screamed. I swallowed it. Don't I look great? Hey, Mom, Joe yelled. Slither squeezed up all my stuff. And he ate my shape set. Don't have a hissy fit over it, Slither said. When Mother saw the damage, she said, go to your room or I'll turn you into a shape that is not much fun. Slither went to his room. He banged the door. Wango. Inside, it was very quiet. Very quiet. Slither thought about his rampage. I should feel good about wrecking Joe's stuff, he thought, but I feel bad, and Joe feels worse. What should I do now? Suddenly, he had an idea. It made him happy again. It made him so happy, he hissed a little song. Outside, Joe and Mother heard it. Hiss, 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 hiss. Then they heard a loud kerpop. He squeezed something else, howled Joe. There's nothing else to squeeze, Mother reminded him. Still, they hurried in to see what had happened. Slither was coiled on the floor, smiling. Something was broken all around him. Something was smashed to smithereens. Now, what have you wrecked, you wrecker, Joe screeched. My piggy bank, Slither said. I'm sorry I broke everything. I'm going to buy you new stuff. So Joe was speechless. His tongue just went in and out and in, again and again. Mother was not speechless. What a nice idea, she said, and she gave Slither a little squeeze. At last, Joe said, I'm sorry, too. I wouldn't share anything. Slither said, well, what do you want to buy? And Joe's eyes glittered with excitement. He listed the things he wanted. Rose-colored sunglasses, he said, and a purple cape and a new beach ball. Hey, great, said Slither. Can I use it? I will need it, said Joe. What for? To sit on. Slither looked at Joe. Are you joking? Slither asked. Yes, said Joe. And then they both had a hissy fit of giggles. Of giggles.
Boy, I really like that story. No, I really liked it. No, I really like that story.
All right. We get the point, Keno. Well, thank you all for coming to today's story time, and you're all invited to visit again for some more stories. Until then, keep a story in your heart.
再见, everybody. 再见.
This edition of Storytime can be enjoyed again Friday morning at 7:30 and next Sunday morning at 9. And don't forget LeVar Burton and a brand new season of Reading Rainbow Monday through Friday at 4. Next, it's California's Gold.
Today's Storytime books are Ming Lo Moves the Mountain, A Boy and the Ghost, and Slither McCreep and His Brother Joe. You can find these and other books at your local library or bookstore. Storytime has been made possible by a gift from Helen and Peter Bing, so that families everywhere can share the joy of reading with their children.